So, welcome back to Connecticut Inside Out, the podcast for shut-ins that has finally found its moment. I'm Tim Gabriel.
I'm Amanda Gabriel.
And I am a very socially distanced Steve Gifford.
Hi, Steve Gifford.
We're so socially distant right now that Amanda and I are in the same house. None of us
Yes.
have symptoms or anything like that, but we are in different rooms, mainly because the audio is bothersome to me. And I can hear like a little bit of feedback from the two of us talking at the same time.
I mean, it's also out of respect to the health and safety of our listeners.
Right.
Yes, but
Exactly, that too.
the risk of transmission while listening to or watching this podcast is very low.
It is, but we have so much respect, we don't want to take any chances.
Yeah.
Right. So today we're going to be just gabbing, I think. We're just going to be talking, shooting the shit,
Chatting.
seeing how it goes. What does everybody have on their table? I have my table's back here, but
My table.
Steve, what are you drinking? Okay.
So this is a sangria with Sauvignon Blanc and pineapples and cut up pineapples and blueberries, which is quite nice.
Fancy.
Really, the kick comes from eating the fruit because the fruit was soaked in vodka before it got added in.
Nice. I've got gin and tonic.
Very summery.
That was the whole idea, exactly. Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, that looks lovely.
It's a standard gin and tonic, which I have gotten very okay at making, because I feel like the proportion of gin and tonic is critical, and I also found these ice cubes that are large, square ice cubes, and they are better objectively than your regular rectangular prism shaped ice cubes. So
yeah, I feel like ice cube size was never anything that we thought we'd have a preference for before, but you've come out strongly in favor of the big ice cubes.
Look at us now. Yep.
So what does the
we're really getting to know ourselves during this quarantine.
So what does the big ice cube give you then?
I feel like it makes the water to gin to tonic ratio perfect by allowing for 2 large cubes as opposed to maybe 3 smaller rectangular prisms.
So at the end of everything, it's less watered down.
I think it is optimally watered down, because if you go 2 ice cubes, there's not enough. Regular ice cubes, there's not enough water. 3 ice cubes, it's too much water. But if you do 2 of the big ice cubes, it's just right.
You've made an extensive study of this.
That's what I do. I've analyzed the data. I've made charts and graphs that should finally make it clear exactly how we should make a gin and tonic. So, Tim, what about you? What are you drinking?
Tim, what do you have there?
I have a Innocent Gun Blood Red Sky beer. It's a dark beer. I'm a big fan of dark beers, and I don't know exactly where it's from, but it's very yummy. It's Jamaican rum barrels meets Scottish red beer.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
Unlocking notes of vanilla, rich fruit, and lively spices. I don't really taste the fruit in it. I can taste everything else, but very yummy.
Smells really good. I don't usually like dark beer, but it smells good.
The dark sky thing is very evocative. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. It appeals to my vampire senses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's dark like your soul. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
So we talked about what we're drinking. I want to ask what's everybody listening to now during the apocalypse? What's your soundtrack to the apocalypse? Gifford, start with you.
So I have a very weird apocalypse experience because in my household, both of the adults are essential workers.
Mm-hmm.
So Holly is an actual registered nurse saving actual lives.
Doing like important work. Way to go. This one's for Holly. Everybody, let's raise a glass to our mermaid friend.
He has one of these over there, so absolutely.
Way to show off, Holly. What do you think? You're better than us just because you're better than us?
He is better than us.
It checks out. And I am extremely tangentially essential because I hire the people who go to the warehouse who send things to a retailer that is still open.
Mm-hmm.
So the net effect of that, though, is that this just feels like summer for us. So the whole apocalypse, Holly and I have been going to work nearly every day, like usual, and the kids have just been home going feral. Um, and in a big way, if you've seen Jason's Instagram or any Snapchat or anything, the struggle is to get Jason to put clothes on, pants on. Anything.
We have that same struggle here
Yes.
too.
Yeah, no, bathrobe and underwear is the standard.
He's heffing it.
I mean, when you got it, you flaunt it, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
So yeah, the playlist has not changed that much, to answer your question. I'm still going to work and listening to all of the podcasts, and then, when I get home, it's watching TV or just several Pandora stations, but nothing unusual from what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually interested to hear how you guys have changed in terms of being around at home all the time.
So I feel like I do this thing that probably makes my husband a little crazy. I don't want to speak for him, but like he loves music so much, and I'll get a song stuck in my head, and that will be my song for 2 weeks. And it's probably a little much for most folks. So
what are some examples?
The prior 2 weeks had been the song called "We Will Become Silhouettes" by the Postal Service. And it's very on the nose for right now. It's all about surviving the apocalypse. And I love the Postal Service. I've been listening to them.
Technically about a nuclear assault, but
yeah, but I mean, it's like very
its
on the
lyrics
nose.
fit too. Yeah,
yeah, it's very on the nose for right now.
it's applicable.
And I've been listening to the Postal Service a lot while making masks. And then recently, Nina Simone has gotten stuck in my head, and I can't get her song "Lilac, Whine" out. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song, but I feel like that's gonna be my earworm for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll see after that. I don't know. Should be fun. Sorry, honey.
I don't. The
That's
name
okay.
sounds.
Nina Simone I could take all the time. Like the Postal Service, it's been a while. It's been a minute since we've listened to them that much.
Since I killed them that much, yeah.
So I haven't enjoyed it, although it has been pretty intense.
So
overloaded.
Amanda, is it just the same song over and over again, or that song's an earworm, so you listen to everything by that artist?
Both. So I listen to the songs over and over again a lot. And I tell our robot friend, whose name I won't mention right now because she'll start playing things. I tell our robot friend to play it all the time. And then I'll say, just, shuffle songs by Nina Simone. And that is, I had to tell you, I'm really enjoying shuffling songs by Nina Simone. I highly recommend it. She's like a great summertime artist too. Beautiful and sad and happy and Nina Simone rocks. I love her.
Anyway. 40-year back catalog of music, and there's pretty much not a dull moment in it. So
no, it's beautiful.
Can't go Simone.
Makes sense.
What about you, honey?
I mean, my listening habits probably haven't changed too much. I'm a music obsessive, so I kind of delve deep into music all the time, and I'm always on a constant journey of discovery. So I can't say that it's varied that much in terms of what I've been listening to, in that it always varies day to day. I've probably been listening to more records than usual because we put my record player in my room a little while back, and I'm almost never in my room, but I'm in there more now than I have been. So I've been listening to more records in my room, at least more than I am in the basement where it used to be. So that's probably where my habits have changed. I've delved a little bit into, there's a Connecticut-based website called CT Versus that's been highlighting they do sort of like a curatorial job on new music that comes out of Connecticut. And I've actually been really enjoying listening to a lot of that. I've been sort of down on Connecticut music for a while just because I think the things that get highlighted tend to be a little bit more sort of kind of whiny white emo, indie stuff. And there is quite a bit of that's out there too, but I think the site has been helping show some of the variants
on brand,
in it. Yeah, I mean, if you were to think of what music was coming out of Connecticut, that's probably be the first thing that would come to your mind. But so that's been nice to discover. And then I've just had a whole bunch of stuff. I went through a week where I listened to the entire catalog of, there's this kind of label of, it's called Habibi Funk, and it's Arabic and Persian music from the 70s and the 80s and stuff like that, and just really deep cut stuff. That's all extremely good, like really cool music. And there's a whole bunch of these kind of like novelty record like reissue labels that do these types of things, and this is a particularly good example of it. And just like the care that's put into like the selections that they take out, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, it's maybe just kind of mediocre, but instead like every single hit is like a banger.
I was
You know what you forgot, honey?
What's that?
You forgot to talk about Perry Grip.
Oh, that's not really been my choice, but yes, we've had a lot of Perry Grip. But that probably comes from before the quarantine as well.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that last time I was at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Author of
Lot of Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda and Space Unicorn and
Yep.
But there is, in fact, a Phineas and Ferb episode featuring Perry Grip.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's prolific.
Yes, he is. So Tim, one of the things on Habibi Pop is just I sort of was vaguely aware that some of Shakira's parentage was Arabic, but hadn't really focused on that. I knew it was mostly Spanish and English. Spending time in Iraq, where people just have the radio on or have there's a weird tolerance of socially acceptable showing skin. Usually it's from Egyptian television because people are like, well, no, it's Egyptian, so it's them. But even so, we can still watch it. Shakira has, it's weird to sit there and listen. This sounds just like Shakira, except it's completely in Arabic. And then it turns out, yes, that's exactly what it is. Entirely so. I will say, and to sort of
a lot of artists do that too, where they'll record their albums in multiple languages too. Like the Beatles had all their albums in German, like when they came out. It's pretty common practice. Yes, they did it themselves too.
Really? Oh, I
so
had no idea.
Probably not like a great German accent, but you can like go back and hear all the.
Sure, yeah. But it's still better than having other people. You still have control over it if you have any. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. I will say, because my listening still usually involves podcasts, one of the things that I feel like we were the forerunners on that other podcasts are catching up to is just the professional podcasters being interrupted by dogs barking, ambulances, children running into the room, that kind of thing. We've been doing that for years.
Since before it was cool, yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
And
right.
Really excited that, Vox and some of the others are getting on board with it, but I feel like we're owed royalties at very least.
Yeah. Well, I think you can really tell which podcasts are of the people by the ones that already had those sounds versus the ones that went into their kind of fancy studios and recorded.
And what's most remarkable about it is when that derails and becomes the most interesting part of it. Like, okay.
Oh, I love seeing people's dogs. Oh, show me more dogs.
We're just talking about some giant policy thing that was super important, but let's talk about the dog that just wandered in.
There's a Great Dane in the background. Holy smokes. Yeah, everything stops and I don't care anymore. And I want to talk about the Great Dane.
Justifiably so.
Yeah. Yeah, although I will tell you this, like I don't want our dogs in the background of this because we're on Zoom, and I tried to give them a haircut the other day, and it turned out exactly as poorly as you would imagine could have turned out.
Lulu desperately needs a haircut all the time.
Yeah, and like poor Chewy. Somehow Chewy looks wet all the time now. I don't know how I did that, but it's not good. But they're cooler than they were previously, and
they're happy dogs.
They can take romps in the woods with less likelihood of getting ticks.
I actually feel like Tucker and Lily are sort of done with walks.
Oh,
like they've been getting so many more steps in than usual, and they're like, no, we actually enjoy getting a solid 5-6 hours just lying on the couch. And this is too much.
Yeah. So our Shih Tzu, Chewbacca Broccoli, who's like he's known, world renowned for being very, very lazy, has suddenly decided that he likes being a nature dog. And he and Tim and Alice will go like explore this little North Haven Land Trust parcel of land that's by our house. And he like looks forward to it every day. And you cannot say, I won't even say the word, but I'll spell it WALK because he hasn't learned how to spell it yet.
Yeah.
Now,
he's always been kind of a hippie at heart, but that's mostly just because he like looks like he's constantly like in a weed nap.
Yeah.
I think, but he's just like I am one with nature. That is all that I want to be. is on hikes.
So Lily is mostly Chihuahua and desperately wants to chase after every bird and every butterfly and most large bumblebees. But that's always been a feature. It's not a new thing for her. I think the bigger thing for them for our two dogs have just been the two of them going after each other all the time. And, oh, there's Lulu. And it's not clear whether it's fun for both of them or not. It's sort of complicated, really.
Yeah, it is. So that's what we're listening to and what we're drinking. What are we watching? Gifford, let's go with you first.
So again, ours has not changed nearly as much because we're still on a normal work schedule, which is very weird and I feel like a little bit unusual.
Oh, I need to call you out on this one though, because you text me quotes from What We Do in the Shadows like twice a week now.
I do. So if I'm doing something or putting away laundry, I am also watching What We Do in the Shadows because I know you're a fan, and so I'm sending it to you too. But that's not unusual for me. I was watching it before it was cool.
I mean, it's a good show. That's one that I recommend.
I will say that our children, so our boys are old enough to be left home on their own, young enough where we feel a little weird about it, but it's fine. They're not burning the house down. They're taking care of the dogs. They're more or less feeding themselves. What has been interesting is their awareness of pacing themselves. So by that, I mean, they know that right now they have, oh my goodness, Lulu is just, wow.
I get me, trying to get me to pay attention to her.
So they know that right now they have maximum 2 hours of schoolwork a day. And that's on the outside. For the younger fifth grader, it's probably not that, and not even every day. We started trying them to do Rosetta Stone just as an additional thing. But they're also sort of aware that in another month, that tiny bit of structure goes away completely. And maybe this is not so great because they're going to have a couple months of absolutely nothing. So they have been binging like it's their job. And that has gotten us through Brooklyn Nine-Nine, like fast. We sort of introduced them because they were always into SNL. And so we're like, look, Andy Samberg, a bunch of other SNLers. And they're like, oh, cool. Hey, I'm done. And it was almost that fast. Parks and Rec we're finally doing, and kind of, cruising through that. The older one is rewatching How I Met Your Mother, which she had done a while ago. But yeah, I feel like for them, binging is a big thing. Holly and I actually finally finished Americans. 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I haven't finished that still yet.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't, like, they did a nice job on it, but you didn't learn anything new. It was kind of cool to have them have relationship issues, but you'll be all right. There's no closure that you desperately need. So yeah, we're actually sort of looking at the Steve Carell Space Force.
Oh, I can't wait. That's Friday.
The concept of that I enjoy, especially because on military Twitter, so a standard, not even military, but federal government thing is to have pictures of leadership up in most offices. So there's a standard picture of the president, a picture of the chairman of Joint, Secretary of Defense, chairman of Joint Chiefs, that kind of thing. So what few Space Force offices actually exist have that as well. And somebody took a picture of and then tweeted where they had put Steve Carell's picture up on the chain of command picture instead of whoever the head of Space Force actually is. And it stayed up for a number of days because nobody noticed and seemed about right. So yeah, we're looking forward to that one. We're sort of getting down to the point where our DVR is not as full as it was, and aware of the content gap there. We finished Mrs. Maisel season 3, so that's not out there anymore. We're very close to the end of Below Deck Sailing Yacht, which was actually maybe even better than some of the other Below Decks, which is remarkable because the captain was awful. That's a level of detail nobody needs. But yeah, the we don't have the ability to just watch. No, I take that back. There was a period where, for a couple of weeks early on, where I was doing work from home, not nearly as much, but I had some projects that were sort of monotonous, and I just flew through Magicians to where I think I'm caught up on it now. But that's a very long answer to what I'm watching anyway.
So I think our kids have found Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is amazing, and now it's on Netflix. So that's another one that I like really recommend for folks because it's good.
I will say, so you guys very thoughtfully gave us a DVD set of Avatar, and Jason blew through it in less than a week.
It's good storytelling. It's excellent animation, and now we've moved on from the Aang years to the Legend of Korra, and the kids still
sequel show.
really enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. Tim and I are watching What We Do in the Shadows, and one that we just finished that I loved. Oh, hi Tucker. Was The Great on Hulu, and it's about Catherine the Great, and it's like funny and gross, and I love it because I can't handle anything too dark right now. Like, the world is a dark and terrible place.
I mean, there's darkness in that. I've seen from the promo. It looks really good.
It does go to some dark places, but it's very acerbic, and you're not really rooting for anybody necessarily, except for maybe Catherine.
And the guy who plays Peter is phenomenal. He's also the guy who plays Beast in the new X-Men movies, which are terrible, but like he's great in them too.
I know nothing about the history, and I've avoided looking it up. And I'm maybe this is a spoiler, but it's history, so it's probably fine to do it. But I'm very happy that he's going to be in the next season because he is amazing. Even though like the entire first season is about like an attempted coup on him.
Yeah, I think the phrase "history inspired" would be historically inspired would be fairly accurate.
In their logo, there's like a little asterisk on it that says, what does it say? It says like most.
It says an occasionally true story.
An occasionally true story, because they get that they take a lot of liberties here, and I'm fine with that. It's great.
I feel like that's a standard we also aspire toward as a podcast. Occasionally,
right.
Yeah.
Occasionally accurate.
Yep. So Tim, do you want to talk about anything else that you've been watching?
I mean, I'm mostly watching those things with you too.
I love you.
You know, we watched together. Mrs. America has also been really good.
Kate Blanchett is fabulous.
Another one that's on Hulu. It's about the passage of the near passage of the and the rise of Phyllis Schlafly. Did Steve glitch out here?
No, he's here. He's okay.
I'm here.
Did I glitch out?
A little bit. That's okay.
This is America has looked odd to me, where it seemed like it seemed really good, but also maybe very depressing. I've been sort of unsure about that one.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like it is a little depressing because they were 3 states away, like way back in the day.
They finally got there, though.
Yeah.
I think Virginia just passed it last year or earlier this year.
They did, and now it's unclear whether the time limit they put into it is enforceable or not.
Right.
So the whole thing there.
Why are we still debating this? Like, it shouldn't be anything up for debate. Equal rights. Ugh.
Equal rights. Not a popular concept among half of the electorate.
Anything else, Tim, that you want to talk about?
In terms of stuff that we're watching or recently watched, I can't really think of it. Those 3 have been the good ones, and you know, we sort of briefly blew past What We Do in the Shadows, but I would just emphasize that is just like amazingly funny every week. Just like
quick, yeah,
finds a way to be fresh, and you know, the character of Colin Robinson and Nandor, I feel like will go down in the annals of history as like.
I also, and I shared this with Amanda at the time, I feel like in season 2 they discovered the Bechdel test and decided they really needed to work on that.
Yeah.
With Nadia.
Yeah.
So I think that We were watching an old episode of The Simpsons today. It's the one where they have Poochie. They introduced Poochie into the Itchy and Scratchy show to like freshen it up because they did some focus grouping, and the focus group said the kids were like, we wanted to both be like relatable and way out there and extraordinary. And I kept thinking to myself, like, what we do in the shadows is so relatable and so out there, that it meets all the things that all the focus groups want.
Yeah.
And without sucking like Poochie. Sorry, Poochie.
Completely teaming it off the wall with vampires, but also in a very kind of like
Nandor's reaction to everything is
naturalistic
so
style.
relatable. He's so relatable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what we're watching.
He's so prissy.
He is.
Love
I
it.
love it. I love it.
I love what a little prissy bitch he is.
For like a conqueror, I love it.
Yeah.
I do like, and I think with season 1, just the idea of the much older vampire calling them out on having done nothing.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like if I were a vampire, I might not do that much either. Sure. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Although Colin Robinson at a public meeting was so amazing. I watched that one like when I need to feel better about the world and it's awful right now. I just pretend that I'm an energy vampire at a public meeting, watching one of our major representatives be like, in 1973, I was the coach of a softball league. And
just the idea that you can look at that scenario and be like, oh yeah, this is what I needed.
This is so relatable. Yeah.
In the workplace, just, like there's an entire, it's probably 2-3 minutes long of Colin Robinson intentionally sabotaging a conference call just to annoy everybody and feed on that. It's remarkable and
so great.
And honestly, it explains so much if there are actual energy vampires out there who are intentionally doing that. I feel like that makes everything. So this is an actual thing. I will find the study and we will not do anything with it. But some study of indoor air quality, where they looked at 3 people sitting in a room for an hour and the oxygen versus CO2 level over that time. And that there's a point after like half an hour or 45 minutes where the oxygen level goes down below to the point where it impairs cognitive ability. And I feel like that explains every meeting any of us has ever been involved in.
That checks out. Yeah.
Especially ones that go over an hour, which is many.
Unless you're like curing Mideast peace, unless you're like solving for that, like there's no need to have a meeting that's over an hour. Knock it off.
Well, and so this is one of the side effects of the apocalypse here. There's sometimes no need for a meeting.
Yeah.
End of sentence. Like
that's like looking on the bright side of the apocalypse. We're learning things. On that note, I want to talk for a second about like not like I'm not toxic positivity, right? Like I'm not like good vibes only or whatever. Like we can be negative all we want, but like I feel like the lessening of the meeting is a benefit of the apocalypse. Anybody got any other things that are like sort of like a little bright side?
This is a very small, stupid thing, but I really want supermarket aisles to stay one directional.
I think it makes sense.
That's huge. Yeah.
Tim, what you got?
I mean, I feel like remote from home for everybody that can do it is a good way to get adjusted to the eventual future of climate change as well, too. For many jobs, there's really no need to go into an office except to make sure that somebody is looking over your shoulder the entire time. That's why they moved to these open office environments, which are also have proved to be toxic with COVID as well.
Or literally toxic, not just emotionally toxic.
Unsanitary.
Yeah, but like not only that, from a talent perspective, if you don't have to, if you don't have to find candidates who only happen to live within a 20 or 30 mile radius of your workplace, that opens up an entirely new world.
Whole new world.
It's very, very different. Now the flip side of that,
traffic is a lot better, I bet. Right? I haven't been.
It's a separate data point to it, but there was a thing that for April, carbon dioxide emissions were down 5.5%, which in one sense, good. And the other sense, oh my God, why just that?
Yeah, that does seem low.
I'm very confused by it, but yeah, I feel like maybe transportation wasn't as big a piece as we always thought it was. So
So
I feel like it's probably just that it's going to take a while for the atmosphere to adjust to that level. I think a lot of the carbon that's out there is just kind of roaming too. It doesn't necessarily have anywhere to go.
so everybody plant a quick tree, like today. Like go out and plant. Like we have an apple tree. We're gonna have apples. I might make you a pie, Steve Gifford. You might get an apple pie.
We have an apple tree we've had for a couple. That sounds amazing, by the way. And we may need to talk about new apocalypse skills and habits. But we have an apple tree that we've had for a couple of years that has been sorely disappointing. We probably just put in the wrong spot. But it always gives you like 3 tiny apples that the squirrels then eat, which is very disappointing of it.
We have probably like 22 little tiny apples right now.
Wow.
That came from the buds, and like we're watching them closely, and we're gonna get them before those pesky squirrels. Yeah. So that was like the good things about the apocalypse. Now I want to talk about like really petty, annoying things. Not like huge, massive like lack of healthcare stuff. I'm talking about like really petty, like what bothers you so much that shouldn't bother you about the apocalypse. Tim, go.
From our relatively privileged first.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's insane to be complaining about anything, but one thing that is constantly bothering me, and not to sound too much like what is her name, Megan McArdle or something like that. Anyways, lots of noise pollution that's out there, specifically coming from people that are mowing their lawns or doing yard work.
There's no need to mow your lawn 2 times a week, guys.
And it's not that like, I understand people are really into their lawns, they want to take care of it, but this is like overkill that we are experiencing. Like trying to the weather's been nice, so we've been trying to keep the doors open, keep the AC off, and trying to get like lots of fresh air in the house and stuff like that. And there just constantly are just some kind of power tools going in the yard, or people mowing their lawns constantly. And I kind of feel like a lot of it has to do with this very kind of deep psychology of like men who either secretly hate their families, or it's just like need a moment to themselves. They need to like be away and have a moment where like that people are not on top of them, or just it comes from like this idea of the virus being this thing that's like so huge that they can't control, that they need to like control nature in this weird sort of way, where like they're at least they can like cut their lawn and they can like be in control of like how tall the grass gets, even though the rest of the natural world is like anathema to them. But either way, it's fucking pissing me off, and it's annoying because it's just constant like buzzing in my ears when I'm trying to like listen to the TV at a regular volume, or enjoy music, or enjoy silence, or like hear the birds sing, or whatever it is. Instead, I have to like be witness to men in their lawns.
Can I just like piggyback on this one quick second, because like I feel like the birds are annoying me. It's like read the room, guys. Stop being so excited about the apocalypse already.
They're having the time of their lives. I love it. I think anytime nature can glow over us, I think we deserve it.
But I hear the birds out there, and I'm like, guys, do you not realize that like almost 100,000 people have died?
No, they do, and they're
read the room.
They're psyched about it.
Like we are the virus.
So I think in both of those examples, these may be less functions of the apocalypse and more functions of us being home all the time. I know for my street anyway, which is maybe even older than yours, it's very old. They were always mowing their lawn all the time. It was, the most generous Tim apocalypse interpretation on this is if you can't control anything, that's a thing you can, if you feel like you're out of control, that's a thing you can control. So that's the nicest possible explanation.
No, it's definitely like a suburban thing to begin with, but I feel like it's been ramped up because everybody's home.
Totally, right. But listen, we got like 2 minutes left to get Gifford in here because we're about to run out of our free Zoom time. So Gifford, go.
Petty apocalypse things for me is just the grocery store does not need to be Mad Max. like everybody is terrified of everybody else when you're interacting, and it's like, no, you just have a mask on. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And some of it I think is just because everything is weird and
Yeah.
it's very strange to have empty shelves at a modern suburban Connecticut American grocery store in 2020. But that's how it is. It's not a permanent thing. Get over it. But to have everybody looking at each other very strangely and aggressively is disconcerting. And you know, the mask.
Is it like aggressive, like I'm gonna cut you if you take that roll of toilet paper, or is it more like
No,
I don't know what your plan is? Are you gonna cough on me? Like
I would say it's
mode?
more aggressive in terms of I don't want to interact with you, but I have to move around you. But like it's just like physical bodies, and it could be because I'm a dude and I look like I do. So people aren't upset with me taking things, but it's more of a just being very uncertain around other human beings, which is, again, I've been going to work the whole time. We're all wearing masks. We've sort of gotten over it by now. So that may be coloring that, where when you go shopping, it's like, oh my God, I haven't been out, and you're fine. Put a mask on, don't cough on stuff, go one direction down the aisle. It'll be all right.
Yeah. I feel like I'm socially awkward around a lot of people, but I'm also that way anyways because I'm an introvert. So it's, I might be that person. We've sort of avoided the grocery stores to a certain extent.
We've been prepping.
Our house, we get it. Yes, we've been prepping for a while. We get a lot of deliveries.
I'm making you bread right now, Steve Gifford. I'm making you bread.
And we're making things like bread and dandelion wine.
Yeah.
The dandelion wine was amazing. It's very all gone.
Wait for the lilac wine is coming.
What?
You'll have to drink it while listening to Nina Simone singing Lilac Wine.
I mean, that seems like the only correct way to listen to Nina Simone now that you mention it.
So on that note, though, we're at 40 minutes. So
okay,
I feel like we're gonna have to cut it, right?
Yeah. Why don't we? Do we have a minute to just go over what our
30 seconds.
plans are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So very quickly, we are going to be interviewing some candidates for local office, and hopefully,
this is amazing. People have realized just what an outlet Connecticut Inside Out is for reaching a larger audience, and they're coming to us. And so who are we to refuse them, really?
Right. We're happy to be a signal booster if you are a person who's running for office and is limited in your ability to campaign because of circumstances. So if you want to reach out to us at Connecticut Inside Out, please do so. And
we'd love to have you on.
Seeing more of some interesting people that you may or may not want to support. And yeah.
Either way, we'll have a good conversation. We'll ask you about what you're drinking, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what kind of new apocalypse skills you have. And then we'll ask you like what you'd like to do from a policy perspective. It's going to be super cash.
It's been very clear, though, our listeners want much more of this, and we can do that for them.
Mm-hmm. They've been beating down our doors, being like, "Where's my pods?"
All right.
All right.
And on that note, I think we're out of time.
That's the three of us. Have a happy, safe, and hopefully everybody will be nice to each other. And if you feel like you're causing a petty grievance to somebody, please stop it.
Happy apocalypse! Yay!